That's for sure.
We are going to start day 3 in a real happy little
both
way.
the two-legged and four-legged.
We are just left Denali National Park, and today we are starting our day playing with puppies at a place called Gone It Training.
Again, folks, if you'd like
for
a
mushrooms
shot with your cameras, phones, family shot, group shot, just ask anybody on my we have just been spending time with some of our youngest pack members, but we also have
he wants to bite. Yeah, you do. He wants to bite. Oh.
Take him back.
The very first thing we do is go ahead right out the dog yard. We're going to hook up the team of dogs taking out the
You want to give him back?
Welcome back. Come here. They're not used to this much, are they? Oh, yeah. Oh, they are used to it. Some days are really, really good. Other days, not so much. But they're used to us, so they usually come down right away.
Isn't that adorable? It's funny how some of them are so calm and some of them are like crazy. Nice.
Eat up those grasses, huh?
Isn't that sweet?
Oh my God.
Oh, some kisses.
Wiggly around.
You want some love? Oh, my goodness.
And yet this one's so chill.
Okay. Oh, you want video on? No. We don't start with puppies. We never get attention. We try really hard to get the
They're calling this a puppy party. You got a talkative one over here.
He's a yiper. How come?
What's the matter, huh? He just has no patience.
Oh my gosh, look at that. That is adorable.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Try one more.
Oh gosh.
There you go.
Look at those eyes. Aren't those eyes gorgeous? Blue eyes. Wow.
Harnesses. So you look around when you see a dog wearing a harness, you know they're scheduled to run today. First dogs hooked up, I see Carhartt and Zirkle. We've got Ice Cream and Wingman. And I do think everybody's hoping they're on the run this morning. This is just one of the teams of dogs to go out. So if the dogs are not on this team, they're getting their turn at a different time. We're going to bring over Elvis and Whiplash. You think they want to go somewhere today?
Yeah. Very excited.
All right, here they go.
Look at him. Oh, look at that.
Here they go.
Settle down.
Look at that. Amazing.
Now we'll get a little bit more peace and quiet. And I am so glad that you had a chance to see the dogs get ready for their run. Because that enthusiasm, that's a better description of the dogs than anything that I could tell you about them. But now that we have a little bit more peace and quiet, I'm ultimately going to want to point out some things on the screens overhead. So if you have a dog that people are expecting, and that's a picture of a purebred Siberian Husky, which is a breed recognized by the American Kennel Club. And there's a couple of reasons why people expect to see that breed of dog. One is that in the world of purebred dogs, appearance is important. So dogs of a specific breed are easily recognizable for what breed they are by what they look like. The other reason, of course, is that Hollywood has repeatedly cast the Siberian Husky in just about every TV show and movie involving sled dogs. But unlike the Siberian Husky, the Alaskan Huskies in our kennel, like Ruger here, they're really defined primarily by characteristics that are more internal. And because they're bred more for what they do than what they look like, they might not all look an awful lot alike to a casual observer. But the dogs do share important physical traits. For instance, they are all about the same size. A male, like Ruger, usually weighs between 50 and 55 pounds. Females, like Muffin, are a touch smaller, maybe 45 to 50 pounds. The dogs all have an athletic build. You can see their long legs, their lean muscling. They also all have fur, not hair. The difference being that fur is a double-coated system. Ruger has these outer guard hairs that repel the weather and a downy undercoat to provide as insulation. And there are other dog breeds in the world with a double coat, so you might be very familiar with vacuuming the fur off your carpets at home. The Husky's undercoat is especially dense, and it's similar in that way to the dog's wild relatives, the wolf and the fox. So the dogs share these outer physical traits, but a lot of what really defines them are the things that are more internal. Number one is their instinct to run and pull and work together as a team. It's very instinctual for the dogs to do what you just saw them do, and the instinct's evident when they're little puppies. The dogs also have an incredible metabolism. When Ruger competes in the Iditarod, he will consume over 10,000 calories every single day of the race. It's a pretty remarkable metabolic feat for a dog who weighs about 50 pounds to process so much fuel. But that's what's going to give him the energy to run over 100 miles every day of the event. But I would say that three of the most important characteristics of the breed, which these next three pictures can try to show off for you, are just their desire, desire, desire. This is just a dog who always wants to go. And now that you have a better understanding of who the dogs are, let's check in with the team while they're out there on the trail.
Make their way back.
Awesome. Up front we have Ice Cream and Good Flash. Then there's Wingman, Elvis. We've got Zirkle and Carhartt. That's the team today. And I'm not sure if I mentioned the ages of any of the dogs as they were hooking up. We've got Carhartt, he's 8 years old. Zirkle is 2. Whiplash is 10. So in the summer we combine our older, more experienced dogs with the younger dogs because the older dogs can literally demonstrate what they're looking for from the younger ones. They know what the turning commands mean. They know how to cross the creeks with confidence, so they can help us to coach the young dogs throughout the summertime. You also probably did notice that the motor was running as Mike took off with the dogs. We do use the engine to assist in the summer, sometimes helping the dogs, other times holding them back. We're really targeting a consistent pace, 9 or 10 miles an hour. That's the speed that we look for the dogs to run during training and racing. So setting that speed all summer long using the four-wheeled vehicle ingrains it into their muscle memory so that that's just the speed they naturally go once they get on the sled in the wintertime. And I did want to introduce you to at least a couple of the dogs more individually. I had mentioned Ruger's name earlier. Ruger is 15 years old. He's raced the Iditarod with Mike. He's an amazing athlete, kind of a good cuddler here in the kennel. Vulture is the opposite end of the spectrum. Vulture is one of last summer's puppies, so he's just 1 year old. He has not raced the Iditarod yet. But he and his brothers, Victor and Vinyl, show a lot of promise, so we can't wait to see their racing careers develop. Muffin is in the middle. Muffin is 8 years old now. She is a super lead dog, and she's expecting a litter of puppies here in a couple weeks, so we can't wait to meet them. And you can continue to introduce yourself to more of the dogs as you look around at the names on their houses. We do name them all, and we utilize the alphabet to do so. Every litter of puppies is assigned a letter of the alphabet, and then every pup within the litter will have a name that starts with that corresponding letter. So Muffin and Mudflap, Wingman and Whiplash, Elvis and E Street. The puppies you were holding, they do not have their official names yet. We wait till they're old enough to show personality traits so we can find them just the right name. I can tell you, however, that we're working on names right now for the letter W. So if you have ideas for us, we'd love to add them to our list. And sometimes people think they're going to be able to keep a puppy for a souvenir, and I'm sorry to disappoint you because we actually never sell the dogs we breed while they are puppies. We keep them all until they're fully mature, physically and mentally, which is about 2 years of age. The puppies remain together as a group, playing in the puppy pens till they're about 6 months old, and then they get their own doghouse. 6 months old is also when they start to run in harness, the way the dogs did this morning. The puppies from last summer, Vinyl and Victor, they're their own team at this point. They're the Little League team. Their runs are short, not far from home. The pups from 2 summers ago, like Zirkle, they move on to that junior varsity team. They go on longer runs and camping trips, and then the adult dogs like Tigger are the varsity squad. And you might want to ask me, well, does every puppy you raise end up on the varsity team? And the answer would be no, not always on ours, but they do all grow up to be sled dogs. So if they do not race with us, then that's the age at which we might sell them, and we would sell them to another dog musher. The dogs like Tigger who do race with us, they do so year after year. It's the shared experience that develops between the musher and dogs that makes a top-notch team. It's generally between 7 and 9 years of age that the dogs might stop racing with us. But at that point, they don't want to stop running. They live to be about 15 years old, so they're just ready to do things at a more relaxed pace. And a lot of the dogs actually leave our kennel for the second half of their lives. They go to another kennel that does the same thing but more recreationally. Some of them live their whole lives out with us. They help us coach these young dogs and participate in the breeding program. I mentioned that Ruger is 15 years old now. He has entered his retirement, but he's become our main sire, so boy, he has been enjoying his retirement. And if you were to come visit with us in the wintertime, you would see the dogs doing almost the same thing they're doing today. They might be on top of their house, lounging out front, or curled up inside. We do put straw in their houses for added insulation in the winter, but the dogs are very comfortable outdoors year-round. I hope what I tell you next doesn't take away from what I just said, which is that the dogs can and do stay outside in the winter. However, we do have an indoor dog barn. It's the lower part of the building there. The adult racing team will spend just about every night they're home from November to March, resting inside the barn. There's a couple of reasons for it. One is that in the world of sports medicine, it's a given fact that muscles recover faster with heat. So by allowing the dogs to recuperate in the warmth of the barn, they are better prepared to exercise again the next day. Also, the process of letting the dogs run to the barn, then run back to their doghouse in the morning, that's something we and the dogs do together, so we all look forward to the interaction. But a big reason we bring dogs indoors in the winter is that we ourselves are not as comfortable. This is a picture of Mike after a short run in the cold. You can see her eyelashes frost up, your mustache. Don't be fooled by the grin, his feet were freezing. He just loves to go with the dogs. But this is what Hawkeye looked like after the same run. So the dogs are comfortable, it's the people who are not. But if we bring the dogs indoors, where we keep the temperature about 50 degrees above zero, then we are more comfortable, so we can spend more time taking better care of them. In the barn, we're going to stretch the dogs, massage them, check their feet, and bond with them as a team. I have a little video clip of the dogs entering the barn, so you can have a picture in your mind of what it looks like. The dogs run to the front door. It's a big straw-filled room. It's basically their doggy locker room. They romp around and claim their favorite spots, and once they relax, we can begin our dog care routine. This is a picture of Urchin getting a full-body massage. I'm not sure if your hotel's planning a massage for you tonight, so if not, come back to the kennel. We have a lot of free activities. If we've been on the trail for several days with the dogs, it's not uncommon for us to take a nap in there with them. And to complete the relaxing experience, when Mike turns out the lights at night, he'll turn on classical music for the dogs to listen to as they sleep. So I hope that all that information gives you a good idea as to who our dogs are and what their life is like here in our kennel. Moreover, if there's just one thing you remember, I hope you see the dogs are happy, healthy, and all of us love what we're doing.
So what'd you think, folks? You have as much fun as I did?
On stage. And before I take us down the Iditarod trail, I wanted to tell you a little bit how I personally started working with sled dogs. I actually grew up in Massachusetts. And when I was growing up, I really wanted a dog. So I kept bugging my parents, you know, can I have a dog? Can I have a dog? They kept telling me no. I showed them. First, before I got a big kennel, I did start with a single dog. My first dog was a Siberian Husky. I didn't get her to be a sled dog, I just liked the breed. My mom made the mistake of getting me a ski joring belt. Ski joring is a sport where you're on cross-country skis and you're harnessed to your dog. Well, that sounded fun. I could do that. We went out to our local trail. I pointed my dog in the direction I wanted to go, and I told her, "Okay, mush." At which point she sat down. See there, Sarah, there's something going up there. Just watch you step on the stairs. So I didn't know how to get her started. She sat down, I didn't know how to get her started, and then all of a sudden a squirrel appeared. That motivated her. She wanted to catch the squirrel. She gave me a big yank, and I did an almost immediate face plant. The squirrel in a tree, she tangled around the bottom, but we survived. I can't say we were peaceful, but there were at least a few moments where I was upright. It was magical. I got hooked on sled dogs. That's the only way I can describe it. They're an addiction. Mike has the same addiction. It was the dogs who brought us together. We met because he had a team of dogs, and I worked for him to learn more about them. We moved together to Alaska in 2005 to follow the dream of being in the Iditarod. And Mike entered the race for the first time in 2011. Our family still lived back in Massachusetts. So when Mike was in the race for the first time, the local news station interviewed his parents. And I do think people want to know, what did your family think? So I have a clip from the news broadcast. That way you can hear exactly what they had to say.
Competing in the Iditarod sled dog race competition in Alaska takes a lot of guts. Logos like Santos is taking it head up. Years ago, when Mike told them he was going to compete in the race, they didn't know what to think. I thought he was crazy.
I think I was a little afraid for him. At the beginning, I really was, but I know he's prepared. We haven't gotten a good night's sleep since it started, but I'm very, very proud of Michael.
So if you're on the Iditarod, your dad will think you're crazy. Of course, your mom will worry about you. I actually think Mike's parents thought we were crazy just to move to Alaska. They immigrated to the United States from Portugal, and I think they were hoping Mike could have a more civilized lifestyle than they themselves had grown up with. But instead, we moved here. When we got here, we moved into the barn. That was the only livable structure. It had a gravel floor inside. We had to get our outhouse for 10 years. Then we got our indoor plumbing when my son was 2. But it was the dogs who brought us to the lifestyle, and they make it so rewarding. In order to give you a good understanding of the Iditarod, at the start of the race, I asked a lot of the mushers, well, why do you do this? Why do you run sled dogs? Why do you enter the Iditarod? This is what they told me.
I like dogs. Oh, you love the dogs?
I love dogs, I love Alaskan.
It's very simple. It keeps me away from my cell phone.
I just like dogs because I actually like dogs. I love dogs.
I just love dogs. I love dogs more than anything. It's always been a lifestyle I enjoy, working and living with dogs.
So it was remarkable. Almost the first thing everybody said was that they love dogs. And I know you love dogs. I could tell when you were holding those dogs. So I think you should consider running the Iditarod race. Now you'll have to give up your vacations to do so, because being a dog musher is like being a dairy farmer. You have to take care of your dogs every day of the year. No more weekends or holidays. Every day goes to the dogs. Also, if you happen to have a nice retirement account, you might cash it in. The dogs consume not just all of our time, but also all of our financial resources. But it's worth it. You love dogs. You want to do this. So first you need to acquire a team. Mike and I have chosen to do that by breeding and raising the dogs ourselves. And I love doing it that way. We get to know every member of the team since the day they're born. We usually have about 20 dogs training for the Iditarod race. That would be the varsity group out there. They're training for one of the 16 positions on the Iditarod team. When you envision a group of 16 dogs pulling down the trail, that is an incredible amount of dog power. But I don't want you to focus too much on the strength or power of the dogs. Many times people have the wrong image in their mind. They think of sled dogs more like a weightlifter. But if you watch the weightlifter, what he's doing is pretty different from what the dogs do. He makes one valiant effort to get the weight up there, but a better analogy for a team of sled dogs would be a peloton of bicycles. There's a lot of ways the bike peloton is similar to our dog team. For instance, how we set the dogs up. They run in double file, and there are different positions on the team. The 2 dogs in the front of the team are the lead dogs. They're responsible for a little more mental work. They're listening for turning commands, helping you to find the trail in the snow. The 2 dogs in the back of the team, right in front of you on the sled, they're known as the wheel dogs, and they're responsible for more of the physical work. There's more torque when you're right behind the sled. The dogs in the middle of the team are waiting for their turn, so they can move into the lead or into the wheel position. Just as the peloton will rotate to share the workload, you as the coach of your dog team will constantly rotate dogs to different positions to try to keep all of your dogs equally strong throughout the race. You also take into account what you know about them as individuals. For instance, you met Ruger. He is awesome with turning commands. You say G and all, it's like a steering wheel. Gremlin, on the other hand, is a knuckle brain. I don't think he knows left or right, but he knows go, and he's very determined. However, if you're in a section of trail where you need to steer, carefully you'll put Ruger up front. But going down the Yukon River where it's straight, and the wind's blowing into your face, you can put Gremlin up for his determination. So knowing dogs as individuals and paying attention to their current level of energy, you can really maximize their efforts as a team on the trail. Today, the race follows this historic route, and it passes through many historic interior villages. They serve as checkpoints during the race, so you and your team will check in and out of each village as you travel. As you're planning for the race, remember you're planning for yourself, 16 dogs, going 1,000 miles, and it'll take you between 9 and 15 days to finish the race. So at some point, you're going to realize that you are packing lots of dog food. It's too much dog food to carry it all in the sled. So one of your big logistical jobs before the race begins is to pack up everything you need in advance. You bring it to the race, they fly it to the checkpoints, then you resupply your team as you travel down the trail. Mike and I generally send out about 2,000 pounds of gear for him and the dogs. The majority of the weight is dog food. We do feed dog kibble, high protein, high fat, commercially available dog food. We add meats to their diet, beef and chicken are the primary meat sources we feed, and then we add fats to increase the density of the calories. Beef fat, chicken skins, canola oil. We also send out food for Mike to eat, batteries to keep his headlamp turning, new socks for his feet, chemical heat packs for his gloves. So everything you think you need, you have it staged and waiting for you on the trail. From November till the start of the race, you spend a lot of time preparing your supplies, but you also continue to prepare your dogs. You're going to take them on longer and longer training runs. You try to mimic the race in training. So you go on multi-day camping trips where you travel in the day and you travel in the night. That way, by the first Saturday in March, you and your dogs will be ready to start the Iditarod race. The race starts right in downtown Anchorage at 4th Avenue. They put snow on the main street of town. The streets are lined with fans. People come from all over the world every year to see the start of the Iditarod race. Take off down 4th Avenue, you're going to make a big right-hand turn onto Cordova Street. Then you go on to little trails around the city of Anchorage. And all along this route, there's people waiting for a high five. They're cheering for their favorite musher, their favorite dogs. In this picture, you can see that in addition to all of the dogs, there are 3 people. Mike has the racing bib on. There's the young lady smiling behind him. Because the race is starting on the city streets, and they've only kind of superficially put the snow on them, they allow you to take a second person for more control. Her name is Lindsay. She had worked for us that winter to help us train the dogs, and this was a reward for the hard work. There's also the gentleman sitting in the sled. He's the Iditarod. Every year the race auctions off the chance to sit in the sleds of the mushers as a fundraiser. And I highly recommend the experience. You really can start the Iditarod this winter. And it gets you a backstage view of everything the mushers and dogs are doing. It's also a very fun run. You might not be able to read this sign when we go under it, but it will say, "Free hot dogs ahead." So not only do they give you a hot dog, you have to be able to catch it while you're riding. And I'm impressed with the dogs because we live in a very rural area, but they'll run right through the city overpasses, tunnels, large crowds of people. Even though the dogs are used to such a rural location, they're so driven to run, they're not intimidated by the city. Okay, that was the first Saturday in March. Technically, it's known as the ceremonial start of the Iditarod because it's for ceremony. They do not time how long it takes you. It is the day for fun and for fans. The next day, the first Sunday in March, the race will restart in Willow, Alaska. You can see there's still a lot of fans lining the starting chute, but you as the musher will be more serious this day because now you're embarking on your expedition.
You don't have the extra people with you anymore. Now you have your mandatory equipment. Things like an axe, snowshoes, sleeping bag, fire starter kit, first aid kit, food and booties for the dogs for the first leg of the race. It is another fun day though. Mike calls this the world's longest tailgate party. For about the first 80 miles of the trail, you come across families of Alaskans. They get on their snowmobiles, they bring their barbecues, and have picnics along the bank of the river. You're watching the race start, celebrating springtime coming to Alaska. But eventually you move beyond the crowds, and the Iditarod Trail will look different in different parts of the race. It changes as the geography changes. There are 3 major geographic regions to the race. The first is the Alaska Range. That's the mountains where you are today. So you're going to go up and over the mountain range on your dog sled. This is where you might think about your ability to steer the sled. Using your body weight, you can lean left and right to avoid obstacles as you go down the Dalzell Gorge and the Happy River Steps. You're also going to pass through some of the initial checkpoints in the race. And you do have to check in and out of each one, but you do not have to stay. It's your decision when, where, and how long to rest the dogs. Make the choice with the dogs in mind. Over time, mushers have discovered that the dogs will perform best when they're given an equal amount of resting time and running time. So a simple schedule I can give you to keep is to run for 6 hours, then rest 6 hours. Run 6 hours, rest 6 hours. Many times you rest in the checkpoints, but here near the beginning of the race, you can see that there are a lot of teams at the same checkpoint at the same time, which creates a big doggy slumber party. Just like kids, the dogs don't sleep as much when their friends are around. So sometimes you choose to take a break on the trail for privacy. Other times it's just the right distance for you and the dogs to take a break. Regardless of where your team rests, whether it's in a checkpoint or along the trail, when the dogs are resting, that's when your real work as the musher will begin. If you're going to stop on the trail, you do look for a side trail. You don't want to block traffic. Here, Mike has found one of these pullouts. And if you plan to break on the trail, you will have picked up a bale of straw at the previous checkpoint. And your first job is to put the straw out as bedding for the dogs. You want to do this right away because it will convince your dogs to relax. It lets them know this is not a 2-minute roll in the snow break, but a longer break. The straw reminds them of their doghouse at home, so there is a psychological connection for the dogs. Once the bedding is out, you begin to take the booties off of their feet. The dogs do wear booties to protect their feet from abrasive snow. Removing the booties will give you and the dogs access to check their feet. And it feels good, like when you take your shoes off. Next, you got your equipment together. This is one of the bags of gear you sent out. We sent 2 or 3 to each checkpoint. And as Mike dumps his out, you'll see some of the ways he tries to keep himself better organized. He has orange bags. Those ones are full of the dog food. The white bags are meat snacks. There's also the yellow bottles of gas line antifreeze. That's the fuel you're going to use to melt snow and ice into water to feed and hydrate your dogs. You pour the methanol into the big metal bucket. You're going to light it on fire using a piece of straw and candle wick. And you put the smaller metal bucket of snow inside over the flame to begin to melt. You do want to get this process started as quickly as you can when you stop, because it takes a little while for the snow to melt, and you want to try to maximize your efficiency during the break. As the snow is melting, you begin your dog care routine. You're going to go through every dog on the team, stretch them, massage them, check their feet, put a little cream on their feet. If you were stopped at a checkpoint, not only would you be checking your dogs, but so would the veterinarians. There's over 35 veterinarians who volunteer for the Iditarod every year, and they're stationed at checkpoints to help with the dogs. I told you the massages are good. And the dogs receive excellent care. Before a dog can enter the Iditarod, they need to have a full-body veterinary exam. Blood is drawn, the blood chemistry is examined. They even give every single dog an EKG to check their heart rhythms out. So we know they're in great shape when they start the race. Then the mushers and veterinarians work together to keep them in great shape. Clearly, veterinarians have a lot of medical expertise. But you're the expert on your dogs. You know Twain. You know when he's running down the trail, his ears flop just like this. So if he was running along and his ears started to flop like that, well, maybe they'd flop differently if he was running differently, and maybe he'd run differently if something felt different. So you can take what you know about your dogs and what you observe on the trail and help direct the veterinarians to be as effective as possible in helping you with your dogs. I mentioned a little while ago that you would have 16 dogs on your Iditarod team. What I did not explain yet is that you don't really plan to take all 16 dogs all the way to the finish line. The rules do not allow you to add any more dogs to the team after you start the race. They also do not let you switch which dogs are on the team during the race. But you are permitted to withdraw dogs off of the team. And you don't need 16 dogs. It's actually between 8 and 10 dogs that give you plenty of power to go the maximum speed you'd ever travel. So if you'd like to send Twain home early for any reason at all, you wouldn't even necessarily slow down, and the race will help you get them home. You finish your dog massages. By the time you've thoroughly checked everybody, hopefully the water has had time to melt, because the next step is to feed your dogs. You make up pretty much a stew for dinner. In your cooler, you mix together kibble, meat, fat, hot water. And once all the dogs are fed, you can think about your personal eating needs. We pre-make food for Mike to eat. We vacuum seal it in seal meal bags. He had it in the hot water to heat up. This one's homemade pizza. We send out lasagna, macaroni and cheese, turkey dinner. I don't think Mike eats 10,000 calories a day, but you eat more than at home. After you eat, it's time for a rest. This is a 6-hour break, but only the dogs rest 6 hours. It takes you about 4 hours to care for the dogs. So you only get about 2 hours in which you might sleep. You're likely to do it next to your dogs in your sleeping bag. If you were stopped at a checkpoint, you could go indoors. It's not against the rules to be inside, but Mike will tell you, if you can only sleep 2 hours, don't get all warm and comfortable. It's easier to convince yourself to get moving while you're tired if you feel cold. And it's broad daylight as he's sleeping. The race goes around the clock, day or night, light or dark, so you spend many hours each day running in the dark in the beam of your headlamp, and then you rest any chance you get, whether or not the sun is up. After your rest, you'll get the dogs up and going again. You'll put the booties back on their feet. This is a close-up view so you can see them better. They're made out of a ballistic nylon material, and they attach around the dog's ankle using a little bit of Velcro. The booties protect from abrasive snow, so part of your job as the musher is to constantly evaluate the snow and decide whether or not the booties are necessary. There's conditions like glare ice or heavy wet snow that sticks to the booties where they could become a disadvantage. But I will tell you that about 80% of the time during training and racing on snow, the dogs do wear booties on their feet. Once you put your jacket back on, it's a good signal to the dogs that it's time to go. They are well rested, you are not. So you try to take care of yourself as they run. You get on the sled and try to relax, so when they stop, you can go back to work. Your leg is anchored to a tree. See the tree shaking as the dogs are pulling? Or the moving anchor, and away they'll go. And the idea is this ongoing run-rest cycle. So over and over again, you do all that work. That's the big part of your job. This is not NASCAR. You do not arrive at a checkpoint and have a pit for rush hour. As the musher, you do all the work for your dogs throughout the entire race. As you cross the Alaskan, you go through different snow conditions, you cross creeks. Sometimes the dogs travel through overflow where the water seeps up on the ice. They climb, growing glacier, but eventually drop out of the mountains into the interior of Alaska, where it becomes the cold and the weather that are a bigger challenge for you than the terrain. The second major geographic region of the race is the Yukon River. For hundreds of miles, you'll follow the frozen river. It'll take you through a lot of the interior villages we saw on the map, and it's exciting for the tiny towns to have the race come through. This is an event that takes place in their village, so there are economic and social benefits for the village. They let kids out of school with the mushers and dogs. The Yukon River can also be a monotonous place for you and the team. This is an enormous river. So long you might start to wonder if you're ever going to get to the end of it. It's a great spot to rotate a really determined dog like Oz or Gremlin up front. They don't care, they're charging along. That keeps everybody motivated as you go up the massive river. You might also wonder how you are expected to find The trail is marked. This is an example of a tripod marker. These ones are permanent trail markers put out by the villagers because they use parts of the Iditarod Trail themselves throughout the year. The race also puts people on snowmobiles with temporary wooden stakes to mark the entire racing route. So you and your dogs watch for markers, and they will guide you across Alaska. Of course, it could be harder to see them if it's snowing, or if the snow already on the ground is blowing around, which is a really common occurrence on the third and final section of the race, the Bering Sea. Here you literally run on frozen ocean ice. And you can see how close together they've positioned those 3 trail markers. That is a good indication of just how limited they're expecting the visibility to become. You're going to rely on your dogs to help you find the trail. They can feel where the trail is packed. So the confidence they're displaying to you in their gait can let you know that they know they're on the trail, even if you don't see a marker. On the back of the sled, you will not be running. You're not the athlete or the coach of the team, but you might ski pole to stay awake and keep warm. During the race, your friends and family will want to keep track of your progress. They now have a GPS tracking device on all the mushers, and it's a fun way to spectate the Iditarod. As you get to the coast and move out onto the ice, you're moving away from any barriers that could shelter you from the wind. The wind is the most dramatic feature in this last section of race. It blows the snow away, piles it up into drifts. But most importantly, the wind will drop the visibility. Many times in the race, you and your dogs will be by yourself on the trail, but when the visibility is particularly bad, the teams work together. As the ocean freezes, it continues to move with the tides, which heaves up blocks of ice. The dogs navigate over these chunks and ledges of sea ice. As you make your way up the coast of Hoya, Hilo, right out, safety, where you finally get off of the ice back onto the land. You'll be on the beaches where gold was mixed right into the sand during the Nome Gold Rush. The beaches lead you to the finish line of the race in downtown Nome. The finish is marked by this famous burled arch. And now that you've made it all the way down the Iditarod Trail with me, I think you all deserve to get a picture under the finish line. That's what Mike and I and our team finally got there. From there, you're going to go down to the little kennel they have set up, and a couple days later, you and your dogs will fly home from Nome on an airplane. And now that we're at the end of the race, I want to go back to the beginning of our conversation, where we talked about why people do this. Because I do think you love dogs, but I'm not sure if you really want to run the Iditarod. So there has to be more to it. I would tell you, I do think the Iditarod is an incredible event. It takes you through some of the last wilderness we have left in the world. It gives you an opportunity to rely on your dogs for your own safety. So it deepens your relationship with your dogs. But the race itself only lasts for 2 weeks. We live and play with our dogs every day of the year. If I'm lying in bed at night and one of them starts to bark, I can tell you who it is by their voice. So for me, I think the Iditarod is an excuse to share my life with these incredible dogs. And it's been such a remarkable life that it's brought us to. It's moved us to this beautiful part of the world where we do get to see wildlife and travel through magnificent countryside. It's also been a very fun place to raise our son. I've enjoyed seeing the dogs and the puppies since he was born. I will admit to you, he did learn how to howl before he said the words. And I have a video of it to share with you.
Thank you for joining us at Gone It for our Alaskan puppy party.